Shalom. We are turning now to Psalm 14. For the leader of David, the benighted man thinks God does not care. Man's deeds are corrupt and loathsome. No one does good. The Lord looks down from heaven on mankind to find a man of understanding, a man mindful of God. All have turned bad, altogether foul. There is none who does good, not even one. Are they so witless, all those evildoers who devour my people as they devour food, and do not invoke the Lord? There they will be seized with fright, for God is present in the circle of the righteous. You may set at naught the counsel of the lowly, but the Lord is his refuge. Oh, that the deliverance of Israel might come from Zion, when the Lord restores the fortunes of his people. Jacob will exult, Israel will rejoice. The language of this psalm and the concepts that are included in this psalm remind me of what is known in our rabbinic literature as Dor HaMabul, the generation of the flood. The Torah teaches us that by the time God's grand experiment, mankind, had reached the generation of Noah, mankind had descended to the lowest possible level of moral degradation. And there was no one who was good, no one who was righteous, with the exception of Noah, who, according to the Torah, was Ish Sadik Haya B'dorotav. He was a man who was righteous in his generations. Et ha-Elohim hitalech Noach. Noah walked with the Lord. Well, Noah may have been a decent human being, but everyone else was pretty bad. And in the words of the psalmist here, it seems like everyone is pretty bad. And it seems that after all those centuries and all those many generations, man has not progressed very much in terms of man's ethics and spirituality. Even at this point, it seems as if there is no one in the world who is good, not even one. The psalmist starts off the psalm by saying, the benighted man thinks. I had to look up that word benighted in the dictionary. When I first read it, I thought to myself, what's the psalmist talking about here? English knights? This doesn't make sense because I didn't know that the word benighted actually means, according to the dictionary, in a state of pitiful or contemptible intellectual or moral ignorance. So this benighted man, and in the Hebrew is naval. Naval actually in Hebrew means senseless or foolish. So the senseless or foolish person, benighted, according to the dictionary, intellectually or morally ignorant, thinks to himself, Ein Elohim, God does not care. That's the translation. And the literal meaning of the Hebrew is Ein Elohim, there is no God. Is the psalmist here really talking about an atheist or an idolater who doesn't believe in the God of Israel? Or is the psalmist really talking about a person who believes that while there may be a God, God does not care about what goes on in the world because there is rampant evil, everyone is wicked, it seems, and it appears that they get away with it. They get off scot-free. So this is a perspective that the psalmist attributes to this naval, this benighted, ignorant, foolish man, an idea where, in the words of Ivan Karamazov in Dostoevsky's great novel, The Brothers Karamazov, if there is no God, everything is permitted. An idea that in a world without God, a world that is devoid of the divine spirit, man is free to run rampant and carry out his evil designs. But the psalmist doesn't buy it. He doesn't believe it. And even though at times the psalmist might think, along with the foolish and benighted man, that it seems like there's no good in the world, the psalmist still recognizes and reaffirms the existence of good and righteousness in the world when he talks about Dor Tzaddik, the generation of the righteous, or in the translation here, the circle of the righteous. When the evildoers, those who are so witless and so wicked, when they notice that there are actually good people in the world, and not only that, but the presence of God is with them, they will be seized with fright, according to the psalmist, and they will be terrified. Because at that moment they realize and understand that they can't get away with the bad stuff, that behaving wickedly and immorally in this world doesn't, you don't have a free ticket. You don't have a free ride to do that. No one does. Ultimately, no one can get away with that. Because the psalmist ends by saying, the deliverance of the Lord, oh, that the deliverance of Israel, rather, might come from Zion. Zion, Jerusalem, a symbol of unity and universal brotherhood and sisterhood and peace. God's deliverance comes from Zion. God will restore the fortunes of his people, Israel. Israel here as a symbol of all those who are righteous and loyal to God. That when the fortunes of the righteous are restored, we will all exult and give thanks and be joyful. As bad as the world may seem, as dark as things may be, there will be light and there will be rejoicing. The moral dimension that's described in this psalm, when he talks about the evildoers and the person who is senseless and foolish as to believe that God doesn't care, that particular moral dimension gives way in today's world to a plague, to a pandemic that has no moral aspect to it at all, but is rather a blind force of random nature, a natural disease that has taken hold of good people all over the world. But we know that somehow in this generation of tzaddikim, of righteous, where there is so much good in the world, where there is so much reason to hope and believe in the goodness of humankind, that in the end, God will prevail. The senseless and foolish idea that there is no hope, that there is no God, that there is no goodness, that even if there is goodness, it doesn't pay off, that idea is laid to waste in an age now where only goodness and kindness can prevail. Thank you.